All right, December 27th, 2022. Welcome to Marketing Made Easy. I am Joey Ragona. You are who you are. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being an integral part of this show. We've been running now for about 3 years, probably even longer than that. Scott would know, and I'll bring him in a second. Just wanted to wish you a Merry Christmas, a late Merry Christmas, and an early Happy New Year, because we probably won't see each other until after the new year, but that's okay. Let us know if you're watching us live by saying hashtag, or not saying, but typing hashtag live or hashtag replay, depending on when you are watching this. That would be so cool. Nice to see everybody here already joining us. And let me do this. Let me do my fancy automation thingy here and bring in my buddy Scott. There he is. All right. Welcome, my friend.
Thank you, Joey. Hashtag live, hashtag replay. You've only said that a couple of hundred times. What is episode 152?
It is 152 today.
And this is the last one of this year. And that means we're going to hit 3 years straight in January. Yep. In January. That's pretty amazing.
It is, my friend. Today is 152, and we'll talk about basically, I'm going to reiterate a short course on relationships and talking about marketing relationships. I'll spin it into marketing relationships, and it's from John Maxwell, who is one of the masters at building epic relationships with people. And in the last well, it's been a little while since I've been doing focused on relationships, but really now in the last, I would say, year, is really diving into and focusing on how do I make myself build better relationships, and starting that reticular activator on how do I do this. And because of that, reading Joe Polish, reading John Maxwell, just looking at the giants and standing on their shoulders of here's how these people build amazing relationships, whether that's to build their network or build the business and all this. And it always relates back to marketing, because we need relationships to build a great tribe, which is one of the things that I stand for, and I'm sure you do as well. So I thought we would start there.
I like it, and I totally agree. I've spoken many times about the relationships I built when I was in the speaking world, and that was what made my career, was the relationships with the companies and the people and everything you did, and that's the foundation of all this. So I'm excited about this topic and the outline that you sent me in advance so that I know what I'm talking about.
Right. You want to hold that up for everybody?
Yeah. Here's the outline that I have. It says marketing relationships. There's my outline. There's my notes.
But I do have some cheat notes here, because I want to just lay down the 6 steps that John talks about in the course, and then we can kind of expand on it. But it's just basically it's this. I love simple frameworks and courses, if you want to call it that. And here are the 6 pieces that help us design better human relationships, or develop the qualities that we admire in other people, and how I believe that where we could use these things to help strengthen our relationships. And again, all the credit goes to John Maxwell. I'm not taking any credit for this, because I didn't make it up, and I just want to talk about this. So the least important word that gets the least amount done in any type of relationship. Bless you.
Thank you.
Do you know what that word is by any chance?
I.
Yes. Wow.
Yay!
That's exactly right. The least important word that gets the least amount done is I. So that's step number 1. And we'll come back to this. And if you're playing the home game, I would write these down. The 2 most important words, and I'll give you a hint. It's about appreciation. I'm just going to let you guess, Scott. Putting you on the spot.
I'm going to go to the Dale Carnegie framework, which is give honest, sincere appreciation, praise.
Yeah. So the 2 most important words are thank you.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
Yeah. So thank you. The 2 most important words are thank you. So you're appreciating. The next one, and they get a little bit trickier to guess, but The three most important words are all about forgiveness, and it is all is forgiven. Three most important words are all is forgiven. Now I'll stop there because I want to leave an open loop because there are three more, and let's talk about these first. So the least important word is I. Why is that the least important word?
Well, because at the end of the day, nobody cares about us. Nobody cares about me. Goes back to years ago, the famous radio station, WIIFM, what's in it for me? And when I see an email and I look at a lot of them, it's like, hi, I'm curious. I was wondering. I don't really care yet. I don't care yet about you. You have to start talking about me first. It goes into all the formulas we've learned. AIDA formula, attention, interest, desire, action. If I walk into a room and I could get everybody's attention by saying, hey, pay attention. Now, if I start talking about me, then they're going to go back to doing what they're doing. But if I get their attention, then I get them interested by talking about them. That's why we've talked about the I, me, we, us has to be the you, your, them, and they. And when we talk about copy and when we talk about copy tests, it's where can I take an I and turn it into a you? In anything, in a relationship, the first time you meet somebody, if you become genuinely interested, there's the Dale Carnegie piece, and talk about them and find out about them, then they're going to like you more because you're interested in them and you're not talking about yourself. Too many people go talk about themselves and their stuff. And in the beginning of a relationship, especially, nobody cares about me.
Yeah, and so I want to take what you just said because it just hit me as I'm having a lot of conversations now about Atlas coming up, and
Mhm.
one of the and this has to do with marketing, not about Atlas. It has to do with marketing. So basically, it's and even to the point of a marketing conversation. If you go into a conversation, somebody says, "What do you do?" and you say, "Well, I do this and everything else, whatever. I do this, blah 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 blah." And you could go on because they might say, "Oh, wow, tell me more about that," or whatever. But you can immediately turn that conversation around to them. And even if they do say, "Well, how much do you charge?" or "What is it?" whatever, and you can say, um, we could talk about that, but I'd love to know more about what you do. Like,
Mhm.
so immediately throw it back to them. And that's what I'm saying is even the conversations I'm having about Atlas or somebody says, "Can you tell me more about that?" I could immediately do what you just said. We just talk all about me and talk about the program and how much it is and all these things, even if they're a direct questions that like, "Hey, how much is it? Or when does it start? Or anything like that. If I'm thinking back now to the conversations which are basically in the chat, it's all turned around to be about them. And I think that is a huge element of why it all works, of why the marketing works. It doesn't automatically work every single time of like, hey, conversion wise, but so I want to turn this into like the marketing piece of it. So how could we use it? I just gave an example. How would you use it to not use I, but in the terms of the marketing sense? And I think you,
Well,
you just alluded to a little bit of it.
Well, from the marketing sense, it's the you, your, them, and they. It's let's bring in the dream client here and let's bring in the dream statement and forget about the I. But what is their problem and what do they need to have solved? And finding out what it is and asking them question after question after question. Even if they ask me a question, I'm going to totally, I'm not going to ignore it, but
No.
I say, yeah, that's a good question. I need to know a few more. Well, what do you charge? I don't know yet what we're doing here. I need to find out a little bit more about your situation and what you're going through before we even see if there's a fit. It was like the other day you had sent me, somebody was looking for some help in their structure in the Kajabi and architecting. And you sent an email, and I love what you said because you just introduced us and said to see if you guys are a good fit. And I just responded and say, if you want, let's jump on a Zoom and see if we're a good fit. I don't know if I'm a good fit by talking about me.
Right.
I don't want to sell me. Marketing to me is the conversation all about them. And it's about discovering what their problems and pains and struggles and aspirations. It's the victory path. It's the dream oasis. It's all the things that we talk about that you've developed in the program to truly focus on other people. And I shared a story with you on one of them where I went with to a party with this gal I was dating. I knew nobody. And by the end of the party, they were like, "Who was that guy? I don't even know his name,"
Yeah.
because I was genuinely interested. I love people. I love finding out about their lives, their hopes, their dreams. And when we do that in marketing, it becomes so much easier because the conversation's about them. And that's what people want to talk about. They don't really care about our stuff until we figure out what it is that they need help with. Once we know how we can help them, then it's time to talk about maybe an I in there. I can help you do this. Like, you need some help with that? Okay, I can help. That's at the end of everything.
Yeah. And I think one of if you're just joining us, we're talking um, through John Maxwell's uh, 6 points of building relationships, human relationships, and we're putting that into marketing. And there's six of them. The first three are the least effective word, or the least effective, most important word is the word I. That's the one you don't want to use a lot of. The most important word is we, which means there's relationships there. We get the most amount done when we're using the word we. And then the three most important words have to do with appreciation, which is thank you. So and then there's a couple more we haven't revealed yet, and I'm going to reveal those in a couple seconds. But I want to talk about the thank you. Just I want to jump around here because now just looking at that, and this wasn't even pre-planned or anything, but I sent an email. I think it was just around Christmas, and it was a thank you email. That's all it was. It was exactly what John is saying here, which maybe is the reason why my reticular activator kind of went through Notion and looked at these notes and said, "Hey, wait a minute, and pick this topic." But anyway, I sent out an email, and all it was just thanking people, and I got back probably the most response I've gotten back. Just simple thank you to, or Merry Christmas to you too type of things. And all it was thanking somebody for being on my list, not for thank you for giving me all the money that you gave me, all these things, right? It was just some of them, yes, some of them were to clients and some of them were to just a list that said thank you. And it was the appreciation. It was just amazing to watch that. And I wasn't expecting anything, but it truly does work when you just say thank you to somebody without expectation.
I'm going to take that and turn that into like a mini challenge, Joey,
Sure.
because I do it all the time. It's part of me. It's natural. The other day, Jean, one of the yogis, I was like, "Thank you." She goes, "For what?" I said, "For being cool." That's all. And then Jen, one of the body workers, "Thank you." For what? Just for being a cool person and being my friend. That's it. It wasn't for anything huge. Aaron, yeah, thank you. For what? Just for showing up. It's such an easy thing that people don't hear a lot. And it doesn't have to be thank you for what? Thank you for being my friend. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for being cool. Thank you for being an amazing human being. I was in Trader Joe's last night, and you've been with me a few times. I got it. There was this gal, dude. She had this hat, gorgeous blue eyes, and she had this whole look going, and just the way she moved about. And I was like, "Thank you for being cool." I had She didn't know me, and I wasn't hitting on her. I was just like, "You got it going, and I just want to thank you." She goes, "Oh my God." She says, "You've made my day. I just like am, getting rid of a relationship and this." And she was buying ginger, oranges, lemons, and garlic. I was like, "What's that all about?" She goes, "It's a cleanse thing. I'm going to a hot spa tomorrow." We talked about yoga and this, and it was just, I thanked her for being cool. I had no idea who she was. And it was just, I thanked her for just her energy in that. And I love that. You've been, like I said, you've been in my ear a few times when I just go and play with people. And I challenge people to just go, how can you thank somebody, whether you know them or not,
Yeah.
for something simple? It doesn't have to be, well, thank you for hiring me. Thank you for your business. Yeah.
Yeah, well, for me, like, for anybody listening to this, one of the emails that I sent out was to non-buyers, and the email was thanking them for being on my list,
Hmm.
because that it takes someone to be on someone's list, and reading them, or just being there and not opting out. That's what I'm thanking them for. It's like, I get it. There's choices that you can make, and I just wanted to thank you for still being here, part of this tribe. That's the way that I structured that one. And so anybody could do that. Anybody could just send out it, and I was genuine about it. It wasn't like, hopefully I'm going to get some sales here. No, it was like, no, I truly understand what it's like to be on a billion email lists, and you haven't opted out of mine. So I wanted to really thank you for that. For allowing me the opportunity, right? Remember, we talked about this in Atlas as well. Like, they're giving you permission to talk to them. So thank you for that permission. That's really what I'm thanking them for. And I think that relates to anybody listening to this, that it could be about, what can you thank somebody for without expecting anything?
And I like what you did. I think that's great. I think that's an email that anybody that's got a list should send.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I use that in some of the email series that I develop. Is thank you for trusting me enough to allow me in your inbox. That's it. Doesn't have, not this long involved thing. Thank you so much for your trust in me, for allowing me in your inbox. I know what a valuable place it is. Thanks.
Yeah, and
That's
you're right. It's not always just about the business transaction. Like, yeah, those are great. Thank you for investing. Thank you for the business and all these things. Those are expectational emails, not expectational emails, but it's like, okay, that's been done before. Um, but if you send them out randomly, and this one wasn't random because it was over the holidays. So I mean, but the point is, if you do them over the course of the year and just simply thank somebody, I think it will really bond the relationship. So the next couple ones I want to talk about is, like, the three most important words are about forgiveness, which is all is forgiven. So all is forgiven is really important, especially if you're having a challenge with somebody in your life. And then the four most important words is about listening. And I love this one. The four most important words. What is your opinion? What is your opinion? And I love this because we don't do a lot of active listening. Right? We're just waiting for the voice to stop so we can sell our stuff or talk. But and I love asking people what their opinion is, or what are their thoughts? What is your feedback? How do you feel about this?
mhm.
And then listening to what they're saying. So that's the four most important words. And got to give some love for our tribe here, colleagues in the house. Thank you for being here. Thank you for always being such an important light to this community and this tribe. And Lorna's in the house. Hey, we got Lorna's picture today. It's all working. All right. Cool to see
Yay, Lorna, her picture, her name. Wow, amazing technology. You got the right button today, Joey.
you. Something worked. All right. In the five most important words, this is about encouragement. The five most important words: you did a good job. You did a good job. I love this one because I don't use those exact words, but I do it in another way. Like, um, I kind of use the words like, this is a good start. I like where you're going with this, or something to that effect. I'm always giving them encouragement, because we're problem solvers, and every
Yeah.
day I'm hit with problems that I could solve. So I and again, I'm learning as I go. I'm always standing on the shoulders of giants and I think it was Dan Sullivan who I first learned this from, was to to give someone encouragement before you give them the solution or another perspective. And it's really helped me, because I like to just jump in, like, here's how we can fix this.
Right.
but started out with the encouragement. So any thoughts there?
I like. I'll go back to number four. What is your opinion? I think that kind of jumps on number one. Is the the opposite of I is, instead of telling somebody, well, what's your opinion? What do you think about this? Give me your thoughts here. I spend a lot of time questioning people and going deep, 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 deep to the point where it's an hour and a half, and they're exhausted by the time I'm finished, because I need to know, what do they think? What's their thoughts? What's their opinion? The things you and I talk about all the time. And so I like, what is your opinion? Of course, you did a good job. Again, that goes to anytime I get out of class, it's like, I thank you for torturing me today. You did a great job today. Didn't matter. You did just, it could be anything. Again, the simplest things, doesn't have to be huge. Simple little things. I go in, and every time I go into Trader Joe's, I don't care who it is, but I'll thank one, two, three, four people. Thank you for being here. Last night I was in both stores, and the manager stocking the shelves. Thank you for being here. Thank you for making it so easy that I can just walk in here any day of the week, buy anything I want. You do a great job, and I appreciate you.
Very, very cool. Yeah.
It doesn't cost anything what we're talking about. This is great stuff.
How do we spin this for anybody listening to their business? How do we make all this worthwhile in their business? Because we're talking about marketing relationships, right? So how do we look at, what is your opinion in terms of marketing? Or we already talked about the thank yous or the we's. Like, how do we do that?
Well, I'll start with, you did a good job, or you did a great job, is, in marketing, is praising somebody for where they're at, how far they've come,
Yeah.
what they've accomplished. I don't care what it is. It could be, hey, you built a product that you launched, but nothing happened. Congratulations, you did a good job. Most people will never get to that point. The fact that you're looking to find help, good job, congratulations. What's your opinion about what you've seen work or not work in the marketplace?
Yeah, I think that's a big one, because that question for me is, again, I don't use those exact words, but it's the same thing. But it's always, if somebody asks me a question on, here's what I did, and this is why it's not working, or something's not working. Here's what I did. So instead of me saying to them, "Great, here's what you should do," right? Uh, which I still mess up a lot of times. I'm not perfect at it, but it's more of, okay, so what are your thoughts on this? Right? So it's a gentler way of giving advice, and giving your opinion about it, and seeing where their resistance is to what you're saying, rather than, you need to do this. You
So
should do this.
I'm going to jump on this, Joey, based on a conversation we had before we went live,
Okay.
and it was, you were talking about a conversation you were having somebody about build tribe first. Instead of saying you got to build a tribe first, it's like, what are your thoughts about building a tribe or an audience first? What are your thoughts about serving and not selling? What are your thoughts about letting people make a decision on their time, not yours? Rather than telling them, here's the three pillars, what are your thoughts? What's your opinion about this? Just, taking what we always talk about and saying, well, what if I didn't tell them? What if I asked them their opinion of it, to see what their thoughts were? And then we had a conversation about it, rather than, what are your thoughts about your landing page? What are your thoughts about your copy? What's your opinion about your email sequence? What are your thoughts about your overall structure of your experience, of your path, of your journey that you take people on? What do you think? Rather than me jumping in and saying, this is, what are your thoughts? And that, to me, is marketing, because now it's involving them, rather than playing the coach consultant right off the bat.
Right. Right.
That's I. When I go into that mode, that's I. Even though I don't say I, that's I.
Yeah, here's what I think, here's what I believe, and all these things. And there's nothing wrong with these things, but it's just, again, how do you build the relationship, or even how do you make the conversation move forward? And like you said, a lot of people like talking about themselves. So how can you open these conversations up? And all of this, all of these relationships, whether or not it's that person, and if you're listening to this, this is the whole idea behind it, is that, you know, it's not just about getting that sale from that person. That's not what we're talking about. These relationship clues or qualities that we're talking about work all across the board no matter what. And it may not be that you're trying that it converts that one person, but it's also giving you the opportunity to have a real human conversation with somebody that may be able to lead you to somebody else. And I think that, Joe Polish talks about this in his latest book, What's in It for Them, which is by far one of the best books I've ever read. I highly recommend it. Uh, and it's about building your own genius network. So how do you build your own genius network? And this is how you do it. And I'll end. I'll not end. Sorry, I'll give one of the final ones, and we'll talk more about this one, which is the six most important words. The six most important words. I want to know you better. This is about understanding, and I do this all the time. This one, I'm always even when I start a conversation about Atlas, they'll say, how, tell me more about Atlas, and I'll say, great, can I ask you a few questions because I want to know more about you and your
Yeah.
business? Is that okay? And they're like, yes. And it goes all into what we're talking about here. But I start out with the understanding piece. I want to understand you more, which is kind of what you just alluded to before when somebody asked you, hey, how much are you going to charge me for this consultation? And you're like, let me know more about what you want. Right.
And I like this one too, Joey, because I always start my conversations is, may I ask you some questions so that I can learn more about you? So when we get to a point where they are frustrated or they're crying or that, I said, remember, you gave me permission to ask you these questions so that I
Mhm.
could find out more about you. I don't intentionally want anybody to cry, but it happens a lot of time because of how deep we go in caring about people. Again, I don't set out to say, okay, here we go. You're going to cry within 7 minutes of this conversation beginning. I want to ask you some questions. Again, how much do you charge? I don't know what we're doing yet. May I ask you a few questions so I get to know you better and find out what it is that we might be end up doing? There's the we thing. And Lorna's got a whole bunch of stuff here.
Yeah, I'm going to put those on screen now.
I didn't mean to prompt you to
No, I
do your.
was I was about to do it. But I wanted to let you finish your thought. So you did a great job. In many cases, I believe it's important to be specific about what they did, especially if they make an offer without getting sales. It can sound like a platitude if you tell somebody they did a great job when they feel like they failed. For sure. Yeah, we're talking generalities here. So for sure, you don't just say you did a great job and keep moving on. Like, you want to be specific, and that's, yeah, I even learned this when I was took over my dad's company, and I was, having employee, whatever you call those things. I wasn't very good at the corporate thing, but I was pretty good at
Employee appreciation
no, it
events.
wasn't it was like the review, the yearly review thing, or when you want to give, or when you want to tell somebody that they're doing something wrong,
Oh,
you always start with the good thing.
counseling, yes.
Yeah, so it's like, hey, I love the way that you wrote that report. It was amazing. Just a couple things I want to fix, or a couple things I want to talk about, right? So, you start off with the good thing instead of,
Yeah.
hey, like, I want to talk about the report. Here's where you screwed up and what I want to like, you don't do that. So, Lauren is absolutely right. And then encouragement and feedback in appropriate situations. Two pieces of information I will share are what worked well for me and what would have worked better for me, or in my point of view. I will share our what. Oh, I see. You're doing it to other. You're sharing that with other people. What would have worked better for me, or in my point of view? Yeah, cool. Yeah, so that's true too. Like, I'll use not those exact words, Lorna. I'll use you know, here's what I've learned, and I believe this. So I think that I believe is huge, is a huge transition. Um, and it's not that I don't want to debate anything, but it's also about, if I believe something, you can't tell me that I'm wrong. You know what I mean? And this is where uh, I learned this from Simon Sinek. So this is what I believe, and here's the reason why. And if you want to believe that too, that's cool. We can talk about it. But you're open to your opinion as well.
Yeah.
What do you think, Scott?
I like that one right there. Is, here's what I believe, and you're open to your opinion, but let's just talk about it so that I hear what your opinion is and you hear what my opinion is. I'm not going to try and change you.
Yeah. And this is great, Lorna. Thank you. What worked well for me.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. Like, these are great suggestions. So we're talking about John Maxwell's short course in human relations, which there are certain words that you want to use and don't want to use, and I'll go through them one more time here with you. Which is the least important word in any conversation is the word I, because it gets the least amount done. It's talking about you. It's all about you. The most important word in the conversation is where you build the relationships, because it is about relationships, which is we. And the two most important words are thank you, because that shows appreciation. Even if you're in a conversation, if you just met somebody, how many times, and I haven't done this, I'm just thinking about this now, but how many times would you go to a social situation or something, and you meet somebody, you talk about it, and then you leave the conversation? How many times have you said to that person, thank you, this was an amazing conversation, thank you for taking the time to talk to me, or something like that? How many times have you actually thanked the person for the conversation? And I know I can't really check a lot of those boxes, but it's mainly like, hey, this is great, talk to you later, or
Yeah.
I just saw Scott. Excuse me for a second.
Go bye.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, Scott. For me, I haven't, but now thinking about it intentionally now, I think that's what I'm going to do.
Well, and Joey, this is probably one of the best parts of the show tonight too, because I like that, and it's so, again, everything we're talking about is so simple. Is thing. It's like you shared when you were with a gal, I forgot her name, at a conference, who you were amazed that while you were trying to buy her book, all she did was focus on you.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, Trish.
Yeah, Trish, and she didn't look and see, oh, hey, I got to go see Joe over there. Or there's Sally. I got his aunt. It's like, okay, Joey, I'm here with you. And
Yeah,
to set off and say, thank you for taking the time to, chat with me. I do that. I don't think I'm cognizant of it. Like, I was talking to Jen earlier today, and I was like, thanks for taking time to chat with me today. I appreciate it.
yeah,
So,
that was an epic lesson to
oh
learn,
yeah,
to learn in terms of engagement. Because I remember it was Trisha Brook, or Brouk, and I remember I learned from Brendan Burchard. Okay, it was like back 2014 or something. One of the biggest things I took away from that workshop was engagement. Okay, being engaged in the moment, because I never was. Like, I'm already ADD. And so I was one of those people that'd be like, yeah, listening to because I'm ADD, I'm pretty good at it. I can still hear what's going on here, but I could be looking around, and taking in all the other information. But what did that look like to that person? So
right,
that's the one thing I took back from that seminar, to say, okay, I'm going to be focused and engaged in the conversation. Okay. And then, so for all these years, I'm like, I'm pretty good at this. And then I met Trisha, and I'm like, holy crap, because I could see what's happening. I'm still like on my phone, right? And I'm trying to get the thing, and I could see the corner of my eye what she's doing. She never took her eyes off me, not once. And it was a long time. It was a long time,
yeah.
at least a 5 to 7 to 10 minute me trying to figure things out. And she just stood there and was totally fixated. It was like blinders. And that made me, and here I am still talking about it. Thank you for bringing it up, but it just makes me feel important.
So, Joey, as we're talking about this, you know, the Dale Carnegie course, I've talked about that. I took the course. I was a graduate assistant, then I became an instructor, and then I went and worked for the organization. I was so impressed with them. And the golden rules are: don't criticize, condemn, and complain. Give honest, sincere appreciation. become genuinely interested in other people, and that's what we're talking about. Remember and call people by their name. That's one of my superpowers. Is I can 25, 30 people I could meet and I'll know all their names. And it just, that to me is from a marketing standpoint, relationships, that blew people away. I remember once I had all the execs at Disney in a room, and there were like 25, 30 of them. And I knew all their names. Like as soon as I heard them, I knew them. And like months later, I saw somebody, I was back up there at the Kingdom doing something. And I was like, that name memory thing you taught me, that was amazing. It was like they didn't care that I made the money and that marketing and that. It was like because we became genuinely interested, become a good listener, encourage others to talk about themselves. This is all from Carnegie from the 40s.
Yeah, exactly.
Help others feel important to do it sincerely, show respect for another person's opinion, begin in a friendly way, use encouragement. Let others do a great deal of the talking. Let people think the ideas are theirs and try to understand what others think in their reasoning. That's the golden rules from the Golden Book of Carnegie. And it supports what Maxwell says in marketing relationships when we really, truly, seriously look at other human beings.
Yeah. I like the I believe statement. The what would have worked, uh, blank statements are more for specific requested statements, for example, reviewing landing pages. I think I got that.
Well, I
Oh,
like
what
that.
would have worked for me statements? Okay, I get it.
Yeah, I'm looking at this as I believe what would have worked better on this
Yeah.
landing page is X.
Yeah.
That's my belief. What would have worked better, or what would have worked, in my opinion, is this. What's obviously I know your opinion because you built the page, you had somebody build it. So I like that one. That's a really good one, Lorna. Thank you. Yeah, I believe statements.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so many different ways of using it. I just like the fact that nobody can really argue your point if you believe it. I just
Right.
like the way that, Simon does that. I've kind of adopted that. And you like the I believe statements. That's very cool. So like I want to know you better is the most six most important words. And like I'm just amazed at how many times we we don't want to know them better. We want them to buy our stuff. So I think
Right.
we need to talk about that. Like why is it important to get to know someone better?
Well, I'm going to go back to becoming genuinely interested in other people. We're creating relationships. This isn't about just selling a product. It's creating a relationship that we're going to help somebody to ascend, to transform. And the only way we can do that is to be interested in them and to create a relationship so that they benefit from it. And the only way we can create a good relationship is by learning about somebody. So if I want to know more about you so that I can serve you better, I'm not saying that I use those words, but at the end of the day, that's what we do. That's what you and I are really good at is learning about people, their struggles, their life, their frustrations, everything. And so that when we know them better, it's not just about, okay, tell me what your problem with your business is. Great. Okay, I can help you. No, everything about it. Tell me about your life and your family and your hobbies and your this and how'd you get where you are and what's the biggest challenge and struggle. And tell me that what was that like for you? What did it feel like? Give me some better understanding. Again, that's why I spend usually an hour to an hour and a half just talking to somebody, asking them questions before I would even contemplate thinking about what it is that I'm going to sell them or help them with. And that's I like the six. I want to know you better.
Yeah, I think that you have to take a position and look at marketing or in this like because we're always trying to make it back to the business building aspect of it is what are you having the conversation for, right? And in conversation I mean it could be anything. It could be an email, it could be a sequence, it could be pre-done sequences. It doesn't matter what conversation is, whether it's a chat or even a discovery call. It doesn't matter, but why are you having the conversation? I think that the outcome of why you're having the conversation matters a lot. And That's what I believe. So there we go. I believe that's what it's about. Instead of, because if you're going into, the goal of this conversation is to get a sale, fine, that's the goal of it, and do whatever you do. And if the goal is to build relationships, which I believe is the better way to do things, because then I don't have to sell anybody later, then it's more of, okay, how do I build relationships rather than how do I make a sale today? And that's the reason why, for me personally, I've focused on the last at least year solidly on how do I build better relationships. And that translates into sales later on. So all of these things are not about selling, even though it is in the end that the relationships built lead to sales in some way, shape, or form, and not necessarily from that person.
No, and that I was going to jump back to that. So thank you for ending it with that so that I could jump back to it. You're following the script beautiful.
Okay. Okay.
You did a good job, Joey.
Thank
You're
you.
following the script. Is you don't know who you're talking to. You don't know who they know. And if you just help them and get to know them, it's like in the group, somebody's this and that. It's like, hey, you should go talk to Joey, or you should go talk to this one, or you should go talk to this and that and that and that and that and that. And the other day in the Kajabi group, somebody in the yoga space was looking for what they said was help with something structure and this and funnel and blah. And that wasn't what she was looking for. What she was looking for was somebody that could design a web page for her. And we were on WhatsApp. She was in Bali, so it was 14 hours difference. We were going to get together and chat on Zoom. But I said, what is it that you need? What are you looking? What do you need help with? And she's like, I need somebody to help me design a good looking landing page or a good looking web page. I said, okay, that's not me, but I can find somebody to help you. And then the next day I was like, wait a second, you should go into the Kajabi Yoga Biz group. And she goes, what is that? Where is that? And I just went and said, here it is. I went in, I'm a member of the group, and I copied the link. I said, go in there and just ask them. And you'll probably get a bunch of people show you some landing pages or some web pages about retreats, because I know people in there do that. And there was nothing about selling, and it wasn't like, oh, she's not going to buy anything, so I'm done with her. It's how can I help her to get a result that she's looking for so that she gets what she wants. And it doesn't even have to be any benefit to me. Now, was there an ulterior motive there? Yeah, to help her. That's my ulterior motive. What was it? Was I thinking, well, maybe if I help her and one day she's talking to somebody, they'll say, that's not what the plan was, but that's what ends up happening when you go out and do what we do. You build relationships and you share your opinion and you listen to other people's opinion. And one of the things you do so well, Joey, is you share your opinion with other people. And even though their opinion might be different than your opinion, you still share your opinion. And they're allowed to share their opinion. And that goes back to number 4. What is your opinion? And that's what you do brilliantly. I've seen you do that time and time again over the years. Is someone's like, well, this, that, and that. And you're like, well, in my opinion, this is kind of what builds your tribe, serve, and their time. That's my opinion in what, rather than my launch didn't work. What do I do? Oh, run Facebook ads and do Google AdWords and do this and retool the funnel and that. It's like, in my opinion, let's go back to the beginning with your dream client.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that you do brilliantly that I've seen you do for years now. And it all comes back to these relationships. Is if you can just become interested in people genuinely and care about them and just not, we've talked about this in different ways on some of the shows, but if we just go out with, okay, I'm not here to make a sale, I'm here to help you, I'm here to find out everything that's going on in your life to see if I can help. And I may not be able to help, or I may be able to help and say, I can help you in 15 minutes. Go do it. Come back to me after you've made some money. Then we can talk instead of, well, I got a program. Goes back to your bar analogy, and I like to use a coffee shop. Is somebody's bitching and moaning about this, that, and that. You don't walk up to them and say, "Hey, I got this thing in the car for only $500, but I'll give you a discount on it because the cart's closing tonight." Rather than just, let me ask you a few questions. That's the whole thing. May I ask you a few questions? I want to get to know you better. So we do this, but I like that it's these six simple things that, as I'm talking about it, I'm realizing that's what I'm talking about as we're doing it. And it's just really simple. So I would encourage everybody to take these six things, write them down on a piece of paper. Now I got the cheat sheet.
Exactly.
I didn't have it in the beginning. Now I do. See magic. Ta-da!
Yeah, I mean that's what I like about these things. We're doing them naturally, and once it becomes a habit of, I think it's retraining your brain to always, like you said, you've been saying it all the way through this call, which is, be genuinely interested in other people, and that's
Sure.
a huge word. That word, there's that the genuinely is the
Yeah.
key phrase. And that's where it's like, yeah, I'm interested in other people. No, are you genuinely interested? Are you going out of your way to get to the person, to find out more about them, to understand who they are? Or are you just interested in them because you can get something from them? There's a
Here's
huge
here.
difference.
Oh yeah, and here I learned this. I don't know if I learned it from Carnegie. Some gosh, 40 some odd years ago when I taught it, or if I learned it from my dad, or if it was just innate in me. But I will sit with somebody and I don't have to know what I'm going to say. And most people in a conversation are waiting for the pause so that they can jump in.
Yeah.
Instead of, what if you had your next conversation and you said nothing about yourself? And the whole conversation you focused on them by becoming genuinely interested and asking them about themselves, their lives. Again, Carnegie, one of the most brilliant stacks I learned was the relationship stack. And it was, here's all the questions that you ask. And I talked about it on one of the shows. And it's a stack that you can create. And then you just say, okay, well, where do you live? Tell me a little bit about your house and your family and what are your hobbies and what do you do on vacation and what do you do for work? All these things. And someone says, well, I'm an XYZ thingy. That's cool. I've never met anybody that does XYZ. Tell me a little bit more about XYZ. Cool. What's the biggest challenge about doing XYZ? That's really cool. Tell me a little bit more about that. And you don't ever have to talk about yourself. And you'll see that it makes a huge difference. And you could weave these things in here. Hey, thank you for sharing that with me. I'm excited. I've never met a person that did XYZ. And what's your opinion about this thingamathingy, or what's your opinion about what your company is doing?
Imagine, I'm thinking about this now. I'm probably going to do this. Is imagine right now sending out an email that said, "What's your opinion about this XYZ?" Right? That's it. Just send that email. Anybody listening, I challenge you to do that, and
Yeah,
see if you get any responses. And even if you could say, "What's your opinion about whatever relationship marketing?" Because I believe that XYZ. I'd love to know your opinion. Let me know. Like that would be a killer email. I think I'm going to send that out. Um, just to again create a bond, to ask them, like, I care about what your opinion is, like, tell me what you think about this. And this is, I just want to bring it back to the marketing piece. I want to bring it back to the email, because I hear so much. It's just sometimes when I see it and it's not somebody's fault, that they're thinking that they're owed, um they're owed money from a list of new people or whatever it is, even a longer list or whatever. And they're like, these are dead leads. They're no good to me anymore. They're like, whatever it is. I hear these words and I'm like, I just shudder, because I don't know if they're actually genuinely interested in building the bond and relationship and trust with those with the list. And again, I said the list specifically because it's not a list, right? It's a person on the other end of that email.
Mhm.
It's not a list of names. You have a gathering of people who have given you permission to talk to them, and it's through email. And if we understand that permission and what is on the other side of that email address, it may open up a new perspective of having a genuine interest in how do I help this person, or how do I give them my opinions and ask them what their opinions are, to build the relationship. And wherever that relationship goes or doesn't really matter.
Well, Joey, what you came up with from the conversation is a brilliant re-engagement email to just say, what's your opinion about this? Here's what I believe, and that would get some engagement for people that
I
may.
think it would.
Well, you're going to do it. You're going
I
to
am
send.
going to do it.
No, you are. So we'll know for the next show what the results are from what came of this whole marketing relationships by John Maxwell, and the one word, two word, three or 4 or 5, 6 words each one that we can so easily put into play. What I love about the frameworks that you bring to the show, Joey, is they're so simple.
Hmm.
You got to sit and unpack something and go through this and that, read 500 pages. It's like these things are so simple.
Yeah. I love the fact of spinning anytime anybody asks you about what you should do or what they should do. I love the fact of trying to turn it around, or consciously turning it around to ask them, what are your thoughts on this first?
Yeah.
Even if it's and that it's, again, what are your thoughts? What is your opinion about this? But that one turnaround frame just helps them accept or think about the suggestion better. Do you agree with that?
I totally agree with it. Because when you're asking their thoughts and opinion, you're not just steamrolling them with yours.
Yeah,
You're
because
letting.
then it would be you're throwing it at them. You should do this. And they're like, okay, and they may listen, but when it's, what are your thoughts about this, or what is your opinion on if we did this? That's not only are they listening to catch what are you talking about, and then let me formulate a thought about it. Whereas the other way is like, you should do this, and then they're thinking, if they're listening, they're going, okay, let me hear what he has to say. And as soon as they hear something they don't want to hear, they shut off.
Well, I was with a client the last week, and I was looking at the headline, and I was like, and I'm thinking about this now, and it was like, do your people actually talk that way? Are they actually saying that?
Hmm.
And I mean, what are your thoughts about that headline? Instead of me, and Lorna, thank you for this spin on this is, well, what are your thoughts about what people are saying? Well, what's your opinion? What do you think people are actually saying? Rather than, do you really think people are saying that? I don't think they are. It was like, I remember this one headline I saw a long time ago, and it was a horse thingy, and it was cantering with confidence. And I was like, I know the horse world. People don't say I want to canter with confidence. I probably should have said, what are your thoughts about that headline? Do you think people are saying that? So I like the whole spin on this. And I'm going to read Colley's, if I may.
For sure.
And we must always remember to give people credit for knowing when they are being treated with respect and understanding, and whether there is a hidden agenda. The secondary gain comes to mind, and it never goes well. Integrity and honesty wrapped in compassion. Depeche Mode, try walking in my shoes, is key for me in any relationship, and I mean any. Love and soul hugs.
Do you want to unpack that one?
That's a big one. Yeah. Um, because what we don't want to do is make this lip service and be like, okay, thank you very much for your time today. And I'm just curious what your opinion is. And you really did a good job. That's not done with integrity. And they're going to know that. But we'll go back to genuinely interested. they know they're being treated with respect and understanding, especially when we ask them their opinion and we listen to it and we go deeper and further. Not just, well, what's your opinion on it? Okay, great. I'm going to share mine now. And that's what I like here. There is no hidden agenda. And integrity and honesty is key to everything we're doing here.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I like, from because I got stuck in this too, where I didn't want to sound like it was, a repetitive thing or a checklist that I had in my brain because I already had challenges with social relationships, with having conversations, right? So one of my goals was how am I going to build relationships and not sound like I'm reading from a checklist or something like that, or something, because I took, Dale Carnegie. I studied him for many many years, in audios, and just, but I never really used it because for whatever reason I just didn't go into social areas and use the relationship building stuff. But then this last year it was like, okay, my goal is to learn about relationships, and then having all of these other ideas coming into my head, now it's kind of an open field of picking, maybe, I don't know the right word, runway words or runway sentences that allow me to enter the conversation and be, but the goal first was, am I genuinely interested in this conversation? Because like Collie said, I don't want, because I believe people can feel it, man. I can feel, even if they're not
Yeah,
really deep empathic people. Is that the right word? Um,
it is.
that
Yeah.
they can still feel when we have this hidden agenda. They can feel when we're just reading from a script, and when it's in our head, even they can sense that. And so I was always afraid of that. And now
No,
with all these other things is like, no, let me be who's the people I want to speak to, and let me totally be interested in what they're talking about.
I mean, they
Rather
could,
than searching, sorry, Scott, rather than searching through my mind,
right.
waiting for them to stop so I can search for what was one of those things that I'm supposed to say next, right?
Yeah. They're talking about. Not, well, okay, check that box. Now let me get to the next question. Okay, good. You answered that one. Now let me get to the next thing. Instead of trying to force it, a wedge in. Oh, well, what's your opinion about what? Oh, that was next on my list. Just again, it takes practice to do it, to become natural at it. Actually,
Yeah, because I mean these are great, but that's one of the things that I'm so uh I just I'm careful about teaching these kind of things, even when it comes to, in Atlas we have the message navigator we talk a lot about, and you constantly hear me say that these are questions you could ask, but they're not supposed to be used as a cut and paste thingy, because I've seen those before a million times, and I remember even doing it with survey type questions, and the same questions get asked by the same people, and I'm doing the same thing, and I just felt, I don't know, this just doesn't sound natural to me. uh and so it's having an, um I guess, a library of questions or conversational pieces or whatever you want to call them there, which is fine, but being more engaged in the actual conversation, not
well,
searching for the next thing.
before I went through Atlas, and we have talked about Atlas since its inception because we've been talking about everything for 3 years now. And when you were like, dude, just go do the landing page thingy. And I was like, well, how do you do the message navigator thing? And you gave me yours and said, here, because I hadn't been through Atlas yet. And I sucked the first time. It's like somebody actually said, I already been through this with Joey. You know, I had to, the first time you do it, it may not go great, but then you do it again and it becomes more natural. It's like I'm excited to interact with some humans. Probably won't be this evening again, but tomorrow. And just next time I talk to someone, just say, hey, thank you very much for taking a few minutes to chat with me. I really enjoyed it. That just and I do it once and I can do it again. And then it's like this little thing that I just do to appreciate somebody and acknowledge them by just that's not a technique. That just is part.
My internet is messing up on this
Yeah, I
side.
know you froze for a second.
Yeah, I
I
don't
said
know.
something brilliant. No,
Say it again.
no, I was what I was saying was that I'm excited to have a conversation with someone tomorrow, and at the end, thank them for taking the time to chat with me. And not that it's a script or anything, but it's something that I'll do. And once I do it, it'll become part of me. And I might, in a couple of days, be talking to someone and just say, I really appreciate you taking a couple of minutes to talk to me. Then it'll become more natural and more sincere. The first one, it will be, but once it becomes a part of me, it's almost like when I teach scripting for sales success. The first time you write a script, or the first time you talk about your dream statement, or the first time you put any of these things together, it's awkward, like escalator speeches, dream statements, dream client statement. But after you do it 10, 20, 30 times and you see people's reactions, then it becomes a part, it becomes natural. And all of these, once we do them, become natural in building marketing relationships.
Imagine if, for someone listening now, if you're listening to this, imagine if you took this next year and only focused on building relationships. Like what would it take for you to build relationships and care about the other people? Like what would it take? I know what it takes for me to do it. I'm still learning to do it better, but at the same time, what I'm focused on is is having a relationship database. Like how do I continue these conversations moving forward? Because I think that is that is the catalyst of everything. Because at least for me, man, in the last 3 years, it's always been about that. Every single person I speak, and the new ones that are coming into Atlas now, every single one of them has said something about, will you be there for me to bounce ideas off, to brainstorm, to these kind of things? And that basically is saying, is there a relationship with you?
Right.
It's like, are you just gonna leave me alone? And I think that's what people are missing, especially when we're talking now about the online world and about businesses online and whatever it is. And the way you do this is by building the relationship. And sometimes, if it's well, not sometimes, all the time, if you're building it, even with clients who are buying from you, and you care about them more after the sale, it's so much more easier. Um, to get them to finish and to achieve the thing that you've promised them. But a lot of people don't do that. They don't care about the after sale because it takes more effort. It takes more effort to build or to continue that conversation or to continue that relationship after the sale. Don't you agree?
I totally agree. And I like what you said. What if we focus just this year on building relationships? Period. Going back to building a tribe, building relationships, and just saying, "Hey, I want to build these relationships." That's it.
Yeah, because if you did that for 1 year, I promise you, everything will change. Your entire business and everything will change, because those will eventually relate into some kind of sales for you, however that however that transforms. But it's like you start with one, and then I mean, I did this how many years ago? 4 years ago now, beginning with one person, because one person was the relationship, and that led to many, many more. So that's at least for me, that's where my focus is on: how do I become better at building these relationships, and then just supporting them after the sale. So thank you for being here on another amazing Tuesday, the last one for 2022 for us for Marketing Made Easy. We're talking about John Maxwell's short little course. If you are just joining in, and my internet is a little bit wonky, sorry that it's popping in and out. If you're just joining us, or you want to just go to a recap of what we're talking about here, we said the least, most, or John says the most, least, and we agree with all this, by the way. The least most important word is I, which is how you get the least amount done because it's all about you. And then the most important word is the word we, which is all about building relationships because you get the most amount done when you include the word we. Like we're doing all this and as a group. The two most important words you could use are thank you, because it's about appreciation. And it doesn't mean just because somebody bought from you. It could mean thank you for that conversation, or, thank you for being on my list. It's amazing that you're on my list, whatever it is. The three most important words are all is forgiven. And we didn't talk a lot about this one.
No, we skipped over that one.
All is forgiven. That's about forgiveness. I think that I get more. I think I get more of all is forgiven from my clients than I do, like, generally, because I mess up so much, and they're like, It's all
Yeah.
good. It's all good, bro." And I'm like, "Thank you." So then it's both. Like, so they'll forgive me, and then I'll reciprocate by saying thank you, thank you for understanding, and thank you for letting me to be me. So I guess it's still in that framework. The four most important words are what is your opinion, listening, and I'll let you share the last two, Scott.
So the 5 are you did a good job, and that is encouragement. And then the last one, I think, I don't know if it's the most important one, but I want to know you better.
Yeah, the
And,
6 most important words are I want to know you better, and
right.
that's about understanding the person.
Yeah.
Any last words?
I think that this was a brilliant unpacking of marketing relationships by John Maxwell. And I have to tell you, while you were talking, I sent 4 messages thanking people.
I love speed of implementation, man.
Went and just, it's 4 of my clients. And I was just not thank you for being my client, but one was thank you for being a bright light in this journey. And, another one was thank you for being amazing. And just, boom, that's it. Speed of implementation. That's what you got to do. And I'm excited, like I said, I went shopping last night, but hey, I may even go shopping tonight on my way home. And just because, again, I like to thank people for showing up and stocking the shelves so that I can walk in there anytime I want and have stuff. And it's easy to complain. It's so much
Totally.
easier to share love with people, give them love bombs.
Yeah, for sure. I agree, man. And you're the master at it. Thank you, my friend, for being here in 2022. I'm looking forward to 2023 with you. And you, the listener, the watcher, thank you for being here as well for all of these years and for 2022. Wish you the best in the new year. All the safety, all the happiness, everything that you're looking for. And for you, my friend Scott, as well, all the best for the new year.
You and me both.